before many times.
Oops.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm just recording. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was just introducing myself. I'm Tara Lawson with GCS Title. I am, I'm sure most of you guys have done the DIS test before. I know I've done it a lot of times. But what we did was we just kind of tailored this for agents and help them communicate better with their buyers and their sellers and to get future referrals. And so just like giving you guys different scenarios, and then typically after I do this one, then I'll do a part 2 where it's more interactive. But that's one for when people are together. I put the different styles together, and then we run through different scenarios with real estate, and then go over stuff on how to make it better with your communication. So I'm going to go ahead and I did create these cards, and I can send these out to you, Kelly, to send out to people. But this is just like a good little reminder for the DIS. So the D's, we call them our Eagles. And that's because they're typically big, powerful. They're the type of people that are entrepreneurial type, they're visionary type. They're the ones that need like the S's and the C's to actually do the work for them, but they are very good with the big visionary and usually like presidents or VPs and stuff like that. Oh, you guys probably can't see the card, can you?
No.
Well, I'll send you out the card.
Okay.
But then we've got eyes that typically stands for, we call them our parrots. And they're pretty, by the end of this little training here, you'll be able to identify what each person is, and you'll be able to identify what your clients are too. So the eyes are the parrots. They're typically the very outgoing cheerleader type. They can go out and meet anybody, very sociable, influential. We've got the S's. Those are our doves. Those are people that have been typically in the same job for 25, 30 years. They typically don't go anywhere for a long time. They are good listeners. They don't like change. And then we have C's, that's our owls. Those are our, those are kind of like your, what are they called? Like the people that they're going to be the people that know that you're the insides and outs of like a purchase agreement, let's say. And yeah, like very analytical. They are going to be a lot of mathematicians, accountants, and typically you do not want to argue with an owl because they've done their research and they're usually right. So hi guys, good morning. Oh, hey. So again, Tara Lawson, GCS Title. I just want to caution you before we start on the Zoom here. Not one person is one thing. So it's hard. You don't want to label somebody one thing because they're going to be different things at home than they are at work. Like, or if you've done the test, if you've taken the test, it can be determined on what you're feeling at that time or what you're going through at that time. So nobody's just one style, but it's more what your natural style is and what your adaptive style is. So we'll be going over that. So if you ever wonder why sometimes people can drive you absolutely crazy, it's because they're not like you and you want them to kind of be like you. So I'm going to teach you kind of in this class on how to be able to, I mean, as realtors, you guys are all chameleons, but this class is really going to be a class that's going to really help you be able to communicate better with your clients. And it's going to make your transactions a lot easier. And as I'm going through this, you're going to probably start thinking of some of the transactions that you've gone through yourself. And you're going to be like, oh, shoot, if I would have only known that this guy was a D or this girl was a C, I could have been able to communicate with them a lot better. So there's not one perfect style. There's only a perfect way to communicate with each style. So that's what I'm going to go over, some of the do's and the don'ts with some of the people when you guys are communicating with them, and keep these in mind. And this will help too. I'm going to pass these out at the end to remember, like, it's just a reminder, like, oh, this person's definitely an eagle, or this person's a parrot. This is how I can communicate with them. So I'm going to skip that. The DISC will help you treat people the way that they want to be treated, not the way that you want to be treated, because that's how you are. So we're going to start with the D's. So give me a D. 10% of the population. I know that sounds funny. Every time I say that out loud, I was like, that is so inappropriate. Why did I type it like that? So excuse me. I'm kind of got a sick humor. But 10% of the population makes up the D's in the country. So again, those are typically your presidents, your entrepreneurs, your vice presidents of companies, people that are big visionary people. The Ds, this is some of the characteristics of the Ds. They're very dominant, direct, demanding, decisive, determined. They're problem solvers. They are doers. They tend to be defiant. They don't like rules. They are definitely risk takers, and they're self-starters. A lot of, like I said, a lot of entrepreneurs and stuff are you're going to see that type of D personalities. What do the Ds want? The Ds definitely want to win. They're big visionary people. They like to plan for the future. They love new ideas. They like to get results. They like to be their own boss. They don't like to be told what to do. They're not people that you're going to see at a job that's 9 to 5 sitting behind a desk. They're going to be moving and shaking constantly. They like to move fast. For example, if you see typically an owner or an entrepreneur, they don't like a lot of details. So here's one way you can identify if there's like, let's say your boss or something. They're gonna be walking very fast. They're gonna be like, good morning, Nancy, good morning, Tina, good morning. Good morning, you know, really fast. It's not that they're trying to be rude. They're trying to get to their goal, and they're trying to get to their office, and that's the only thing that they're focused on at that time is getting to their goal. And so they're talking fast, they're walking fast, and that's the main thing that they're focused on at that time. So that's one way you can find a D. Another way to determine if you're working with a D on your client or not is if in their emails. If it's short, sweet, and to the point, that's a sure sign way that you're working with the D personality style, because they do not like the details on there. They definitely like a challenge, and they want their freedom. So they don't want to be, like I said, stuck to an office. What are the D's potential weaknesses? They tend to overstep authority. So if they aren't the boss and there's a boss ahead of them, they will definitely overstep that authority and challenge that authority of somebody who is their boss. Sometimes, and I don't think they mean to do this, but they can have an argumentative attitude, and not all these things are define the D, but these are a lot of the characteristics of the Ds. They do not like routine. They attempt to do too much at once because, again, they can sometimes see bright shining balls and they're like chasing everything all over the place. Anything that can make them money for their goals. They can sometimes cause anxiety in others because, again, because they are the visionary and they see the big picture. They're going to tell everybody like, okay, can you do this? And the next week they might be changing it. Oh, I got a better idea. Let's do this way. So that's why it can cause sometimes anxiety in other people. Critical and fault finding. So if it's not their way, they can sometimes find fault finding if it's not their idea or their way. Inattentive to details because they don't like the details. May resist participation of being in a team. They like to be on their own. They like to have their own autonomy. They like to be doing things their own way. So sometimes if it's not their idea, they're not going to want to be like on a group team setting. Now, this is the case if they're like 100% or 99% D. So you might, I know you said you were like a high D, but that may be, some of these might resonate with you. Some of them may not, but typically it's pretty spot on here. What are D's greatest fears? The D's greatest fear is being taken advantage of. They don't want anybody to take advantage of. They will, if they see something great in you, they're going to give it their all and do whatever they can for you. But if you take advantage of them, that's game on. Okay. How to relate to D's. So think of this with your clients. If you are not a D yourself and you are, let's say a high I or something, just watch some of these things on how to relate with your customers. Communicate very briefly. They don't want to, no offense, but they don't want to hear about your kid's hockey game or your daughter's dance team or stuff like that. They just don't. So minimize the small talk. So even if you're sending an email, one tip I can give you for you guys, if you're working with, let's say the female is the D or the husband's the D, whatever, and the wife is, let's say, a high I and wants the details and wants to hear about all these things, communicate differently with both of them. And it's going to get you a long way. Even if it's hard for you to do, keep that in the back of your mind, because it's going to help you in the future to get future referrals. And the wives can be like, ooh, did you know she knew so-and-so? Or did you know he knew so-and-so? And the husband's like, I don't care. So even if you have to take that extra step and be like, okay, I'm going to write the husband an email this way, brief and to the point, 3 bullet points. This is what I need to do to sell your house. This is what we got to do. That's how you're going to have to communicate with the husband. If the wife is a completely different style and you are able to identify the two, start out the email with her, be like, hey, how was your weekend? Hey, I saw your daughter had a dance competition this week. How did it go? Started out that way because she doesn't care about, you know, the details of selling the house. She cares more about the personal aspect. So knowing that and keeping that in mind is going to help you, even though it's going to take a little bit of extra work on your end for a short period of time. Long term, it's going to help you guys in the long run. So for the D's, ask what, not how questions. Avoid the details. Can't stress that enough with the D's. Respect their need for autonomy. Be clear about the rules and expectations. You have to be clear because D's like to break the rules. Let them initiate the conversations, and then just be quiet and let them talk. Show your competence. If you don't show that you're competent with what you're doing in the house, then make sure either you have an assistant or somebody on your team does know, so that way you can look like you're competent when you're working with the D's. Again, stick to the topic. Can't stress that enough. Show independence and eliminate any time wasters. They don't want to typically go to a happy hour unless you're buying. And and so just yeah, so keep that in mind. How will you know you are a D? So, I mean, now you can kind of see the do's and the don'ts and some of the positives and some of the not so positive things about the D and how to relate with the D's. That's what you can do like when you're working in real estate with these people. So give me an I. So 20% of the populations is an I. We call them the parrots. They like to talk a lot. They like to, T and I could tell you were an I the second you walked in the room. So like the first time. But it's funny, once you kind of go through this and watch this and carry these things around, you'll be able to identify some of these things. And I think for the eyes, that's part of the hardest thing to do for eyes is just to walk in the room, kind of be quiet and let your client speak, because it's a hard thing. I'm 50% I too. I'm ID, 50% I, 50% D, but it's really hard. And there's nothing that can turn off a client more if they are not an I than if they can't get a word in. So that's something I've had to work on myself. It's, you know, so keep that in mind, because it promise you it's going to go a long way. Here's some of the general characteristics of the I's. They're very inspiring people. They're likable. They're influencing, and they have a say anything. They can typically influence you in what you want them to do. They definitely leave an impression. People are still talking about the last time you were at our class when they're like, can you bring better gifts next time? I mean, it was funny. So, but anyways, that you leave an impression on people. Typically they shine and sparkle. They're involved in a lot of different things and a lot of different organizations and committees. Enthusiastic, they're trusty, and they definitely have a short attention span. Guilty. Flashy, classy attire, and they're very talkative and animated, usually talking with their hands. And I and D's are probably the easiest ones to spot out when you're working with your clients. You can tell by their emails, the way they write an email. If it starts out anything personal, like, hey, how do you know it's so-and-so, or I saw him, you know, you can tell you can tell how animated they are with their hands, or how when they walk in a room, you know, an I right away. A D is like, you know, you can just tell by you could just tell like somebody right away, like, oh, I can tell Bob's a D, you know, like you can just know and sense like what they are, just by the way they carry themselves, by the way they send a text, by the way they send an email, anything like that. So keep those things in mind. S's and C's are a little bit harder to determine, but I'll show you different ways that you can determine how they are and how you can communicate with them. What does an I want? They like to be liked. They like to express their ideas and feelings. They like being in front of a group. They like surprises. They like lots of fun. They like recognition, and they like people. So here's one thing you guys can do. If you're not an I yourself and you have identified your client as an I, right? And unfortunately, sometimes I's want to please everybody. So if they are about to sell their house, or if they're about to look for a house and you know that they're a high I, most likely they've told 10 other real estate agents, oh yeah, you can be my agent. You can be, because when they're in front of them, they want to please, and they want everybody to like them. So they're going to tell everybody. So what can you guys do if you're not an I to impress them, to get their business? Well, one thing you could do was give them public recognition on Facebook. You can send them a little surprise. Let's say they're a teacher. let's say I'm just throwing that out there, they're a teacher, somebody that they're a high I and they want, you can send them like a little flowers or something to recognize them at school, to publicly recognize them and their good things that they're doing out there. And to give them shout outs. They love shout outs. And the more you can do it, the more you're going to be in the top of their mind for when they are picking out a real estate agent. Even if it's really hard for you to do, like sometimes it might not be your natural style to give like compliments to people or stuff like that. You have to really work on it. You think to yourself, okay, what do I do? What do I need to do for my family? What is my why? What is it that I need to do and to pay my bills and get food on the table, or whatever your why is? You think about that and think about like, okay, I can do that. I can give them compliments and shout outs. And even if it's outside of my comfort zone, I can do that to get that business over the 10 other real estate agents that also want that business. Okay. Here's some of the potential eyes weaknesses. They're definitely inattentive to detail because they have that short attention span. They listen when it's convenient, meaning like if it's not interesting to them, they may see your lips moving, but they don't hear what you're really saying because they're thinking about 10 other things. And it's not that they're trying to be rude, it's they're either bored or they're not interested in what it is. So try to find something that would be, you can work with them on that. They can sometimes oversell themselves because they're pleasers. So they will oversell and underdeliver. So keep that in mind, that with the eyes is that they can sometimes do that. And same with your clients, they can sometimes like, oh yeah, you can be my agent. Well, 10 other people thought they were going to be their agent too. So what can you do? Keep that in mind to get that business. They can act impulsively, difficult to plan and estimate time. Again, it's because they're trying to please everybody. So there might be 10 things that they got invited to that weekend and they say yes to all 10 things. And then they pick the funnest thing to do that weekend. That pisses people off, And even if you try to go to all of them and you spend 20 minutes here, half hour there, 20, I mean, just be consistent with what you say you're going to do and go there and be intentional with the time with the people that you say that you're going to go to. If you know that you can't commit to it, then just say that up front. Like, hey, unfortunately, I can't commit to that right now. And I'm trying to get better at over committing to everybody. So I will get back to you, and then make sure you get back to them and follow up with it. But that is a big thing for them. And then sometimes they can be more concerned with popularity than tangible results. That's a big one with the eyes. They'd rather be liked than get either more houses sold or vice versa. What is the eye's greatest fear? Rejection. So if you are working with an eye and you're an eye yourself and your client rejected you and went with somebody else, that would kill them more than anybody. So make sure you just set those expectations up front. Here's what you're going to get from me. Here's the follow-up you're going to get from me, and so forth. Here's how you can relate to an eye. Be relaxed and sociable. Let them talk, especially if you're an eye yourself. Keep the conversation very light. They don't want to get into really deep, serious conversations typically. Suggest what actions they should take. So if you tell them what actions that they should take, if they are an eye themselves, then suggest what they take. Don't ask them what they should do, because then they're gonna be like, I don't know, you tell me what I should do. So make sure you be very specific and to the point with them on that. Provide incentive for them to take a task. They like little goodies and prizes and fruit. And and so just do those extra little things to make them feel special, because they're gonna remember those kind of things. Again, giving them public recognition is gonna go a long way with them. Use humor, freedom from control. They don't want to feel like they're being controlled. They don't like a lot of the detail either, kind of like the D's. There's some similarities there. Ask who questions, not what questions. Like, hey, who do you know? I saw you know so-and-so. How do you know that person? Use stories about others to convince them. So in your guys' case, it'd be like, oh yeah, I just sold, hey, I see that you're related to your cousin, or I had just sold a Vikings house or Packers house, whatever the case may be. Use stories like that of things that you've done in the past to convince them why they should be using you as a real estate agent. Once you've identified that they're the eye, and then help them please others too. That's a big one for them. If you make them look good to others and call them and just say, hey, Bob just told me that you were looking for a painter and, you know, just things like that to connect them. And he said that you were an absolute rock star, you know, that kind of stuff is going to kind of build them up and also build the other people up too. Any questions so far? Okay. How to relate tonight. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Just be nice. So I's have a really hard time with the D's. So if a D will come at you and just, you know, a lot of times with their body language, like, I told you to do this. And if a D, a lot of time can be expressive too. And if they come down, like using like kind of expressive behavior, like whether they're gritting their teeth, even though it's not intentionally at you, or if they, you know, slam their hand down, I mean, you can lose an eye, the eye is going to shut down and then they're going to kind of corner in there. And then all of a sudden they've lost respect for the D because they're not scared, but that's not how you should be relating to them. You should be relating to them like, hey, can I just ask you a question? I noticed that you did it. I noticed that you did your listing presentation this way. Could you just explain why you did that? I just want to understand from your point of view how you did it. So if you talk to an I that way, you're going to go a lot farther than being like, what the hell, you dumbass? Why did you do it that way? I mean, and they may not even mean it like that. They may just look at it like, that's just how they talk. They're just very, you know, and they don't mean to be, but they don't understand how it may come across. And that's going to shut an eye down like immediately. Okay. How do you know if you're an I? I think you guys will be able to identify like the I's and the D so far, right? Okay. So give me an S. The S's are doves, are sweet little doves. And how will you know your nest? So 30 to 35% of our population are the S's. Typically, those are your people like teachers, people that have stayed in their positions for very long periods of times, 20, 30, 40 years. They don't like change. They like things to stay the same. And we're going to go over some of those things too. Here's some of the general characteristics of the S's. They're very supportive. They're stable, steady, sweet, status quo. They sometimes can be shy. They have a very hard time saying no because they want to make you happy. So they're taking on all 10 tasks and they'll stay here till 10 o'clock at night, getting those tasks done to make sure that you're happy. They're very good listeners. They're team players. They sometimes can be possessive of their clients, especially. They work very hard to get those clients and want to make sure that they're still being used. They're very understanding. They're friendly and they're predictable. So again, you can always count on them, usually not to leave. If you're doing a good job, they're here 9 to 5 or 7 to 7. You know, they're reliable for sure. Here's what the S's want. The S's want to be accepted. They like to be part of a team. So make sure that you're asking them to be part of your team. If you're their agent, hey, here's my team, meet my entire team. You're going to be working with my buyer or seller, Mr. Buyer or Seller. Here's the team. So get them in part of the team. D's, no, don't even bother with the D's. They want to be on their own. But the S's, they do want to be a part of everything. They do like harmony. So again, if you have that D personality and you're working with the S's, make sure when you're talking with them, lower your tone, be softer with them, lean in, even if it's really hard for you. Like, you know, sometimes it can be hard for me. I'm a higher D too. So I have to like lower the tone, literally move all my distractions out of here, lean in and truly listen and be present when I'm talking with the S's. Nothing's going to make them feel more important than when you move all your distractions, lean in and ask them exactly what they want when looking to buy or sell their home. They like to say things the same. Here's the biggest thing and a biggest turnoff for S's. If you are doing an open house as a real estate agent and you do anything in their house that changes their house, anything around in their house, whew, they may not tell you, but I'm telling you, inside, they've already fired you in their job, in their mind. Okay. And I'm talking little simple things. If we as agents, or you guys as agents, if you think like, ooh, if I'm just gonna, during this open house, I'm gonna change a couple of the furniture around pieces because I'm gonna think that it's gonna open up the room better. And like, let's say you have a great eye for interior design. I'm going to change the nasty towels in their bathroom and change it to white, crisp, clean towels and bring in some stuff without talking to them first. And they may hesitate at first because they're offended now. they are gonna lose it. And they might not tell you, and all of a sudden you think you did a great job but if you were to say to them, hey, how would you feel if I could get you 20% more on your house right now if I just made these little tiny enhancements in your house? How would you feel if I did that? They may hem and haw at first because they don't like the change, but they may like the money. So it may take them give them a minute to process it, let them process it, and then do it. But if you were to go in there and change anything on that house, and then you're wondering, like, the next, let's say the house didn't sell and all of a sudden you got an expired listing and they don't use you anymore, that's why. I guarantee you that's why. It's because you're making changes or anything on the purchase or anything. Make sure you communicate. They will forgive you probably one time. If you have came to them and told them, hey, I am sorry. I realize, you don't have to say, I realize you're an S and I realize what I did to you. But if you were to say, hey, I realize I did some things without asking you, and I'm really sorry for that. And if you please give me another opportunity, I will make sure I do my best to make sure I communicate to the best I can. And with that just means like, I will, and if there's any, and I need help from you, like if there's anything I could do better, please tell me if I haven't communicated better with you, because I want to make sure I do a good job. They will forgive you. But if you don't have that conversation or you don't understand why they didn't use you after the listing expired, now you know. They don't like that when you do that. Okay. What are some of the S's weaknesses? Resist change. They will eventually change, but they can resist it because they don't like it. I don't like to, I've gone through a lot of, some of you guys might have went through some of the Eric Thurwinger stuff, but he was my coach and he says, don't use the word change, use the word enhance. So, and I have switched some of my language around too. So I don't say, hey, can I change some stuff in your house, because change to them, it's automatically raising red flags. So, hey, let me just enhance just a couple little things in here just so I can get you 20% more on your house, or 5% or 10% more on your house. So just kind of changing some of that language helps too. So it'll take a long time to adjust to some of the enhancements on there. They can hold a grudge and you may not know why, but hopefully after this class, you'll be able to identify, or even think about some of your guys' past clients. They're like, what did I do? I don't understand what I did that they're mad. Maybe if you can really think and look back and go deep yourself and wonder, like, could I have done something better? Maybe there's something that you did, like maybe not giving them feedback on the showing times right away, which I'll talk about in a minute. But little things like that is gonna make them hold a grudge if you're not communicating with them properly. They're very sensitive to criticism. So the way you say it to them or ask them different questions, like, hey, I'm just curious, like, walk me through your process. What made you do it that way? I'm just curious. And just ask them. And so then get them talking of why they did what they did. So it just comes across less like you're criticizing them and making them feel like small. So just by the way you talk to them, it's going to go a long way with the S's too. Sometimes they have difficulty in establishing priorities because they do a lot at one time. So they don't know sometimes to put what's most important to least important, like, how you can label 1 through 5 or whatever. And I'm going to put the most important thing. They're trying to do all of them at once because they want to make everybody happy and do it in a timely fashion. And they also have a hard time sharing their feelings. They're very good at listening to other people's feelings, and it makes them feel wanted. So when they share their feelings, then it's less likely for them to feel wanted themselves, if that makes sense, because then they feel like people won't come to them then. They want to be the problem solver. They want to be known as the ones that you can go to them for anything. So if they show weakness sometimes, or if they show like, hey, I've got problems too that I want to talk about, they usually don't share that because they want you to come to them for everything. How to relate to an S. Be friendly and supportive, kind of like the I's. Ask how would you like this done? Not what questions. Use evidence of benefit to convince. That's a big one with them. So when I talked about earlier about how you want to enhance some different things in their house, or how you have to make some changes in their purchase agreement, use evidence of why they should do it the way that you're showing them to do it, so they could either get more money, or if you're showing them like a CMA and they want to do something differently, show them evidence of, hey, if you just do these couple little enhancements in your house, this is why you can get this. This is why you can get this much more. If you just throw some fresh paint on your house. If you do these couple things, just show them that evidence. That's a big thing for them. Give details. Unlike the Ds, they love the details. The more details you can give them, the better. So if you're not a detail oriented person, either have somebody on your team help you with that, get an assistant to help with that. But make sure that you're giving them the details on what you're going to do as their agent to help get their house sold quicker and faster. The more details, the better. Display a sincere interest in them, even if you're a D and you're not really interested. Again, remove your distractions, lean in, let them talk, and show a sincere interest in what they're doing with their house, or their why behind their selling their house, or their why behind why they're looking to buy a house. Present ideas which require them to choose how they do something in a non-threatening manner, and then give them time to adjust. Again, remember, they don't like change. That's a big thing with the S's. Provide personal insurance and follow-up support. This is a big one with them. So let me give you an example. So on showing time, like I said, I was going to go into a little bit. If you know, you as an agent, if you know there's always that one agent that is showing the house, and you know that no matter what, they never give feedback. Here's what you can do to provide personal insurance to your S's to make sure that they know that you're doing a job and that they're going to respect you for it. Number one, you let them know ahead of time, like, hey, you know, Sharon is, she's known for never giving feedback on showing time. So I just want to let you know that up front. 2, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to, after the showing time, within 2 hours or whatever time frame you guys come up with, I'm going to call Sharon and ask her if I could get feedback on the house. If I don't hear back from her within that 2 hours, within, you know, by the end of the day, I will send a text message to her. If I don't get back from her again, by the 3rd time of me reaching out, if I have not heard from Sharon back on that showing time, I want you to let you know I'm doing everything I can. I've made 3 steps to contact them. That means they're most likely not interested in your house. That has nothing to do with you. That's just what this agent is notorious for. So that is a way that you can relate with the S's, and that's going to make it go a long way. They're going to appreciate that, and they're going to be sending you future referrals if you do that one small little step, and make sure you're following up with them as well. Help them understand how their actions can minimize risk. And when I say their actions, that means sometimes they can be stubborn and they resist the change and stuff. So let them know, hey, by sometimes by your actions, or, I can understand that change may be hard for you sometimes, but what that's going to do if we don't move a little bit quicker, and here's why, then there's 3 other houses just like yours on the market or whatever, that it's going to go a lot quicker. So you find out ahead of time how, obviously you guys do that. How soon do you want to close your house? What's your why? Find that out, and then let them know that, hey, your risk could be stopping you from getting that sold quicker than the house down the road. And then the biggest one is never, ever, ever, ever change or do any enhancements in their house purchase agreement or anything without making sure you talk to them first. And if you are over communicating with them, that's much better than it would be with like a D or an I. So S's need that communication. They need the detail. They like it, they need it, and they want it. So make sure that that's a big thing for the S's. And that's how you can relate to your clients as S's. You'll be able to know if it's an S by the way they write an email. If it's long and you're an I and you're like, oh my God, I'm just going to graze over it. Take the time. I promise you, take the time, read that entire email, understand that email, so then you don't lose credibility with them. You'll be able to identify them through a text message. You'll be able to identify them when you're sitting in a room with you, when they're leaning in, they're genuinely interested in what you're saying. Or if they're quiet and then just listening, you'll be able to identify the S's if they're high on the S scale right away. And those are some of the tips and tricks that you can learn when you're working with the S's. So give me the C. These are our owls. These are typically our accountants, our mathematicians, analytical type people, engineers. So keep that in mind when you're working with the C if you're not a C yourself. 20 to 25% of the population are the C's. They're conscientious, very detail orientated. They've done their research. They're logical. They question everything. Analytical. They're very accurate. They're objective, factual, and diplomatic. So my sister is a very high C, and sometimes we can butt heads, and I've learned this about her, like, okay, I want to be right. She wants to be right. We're like going, I've learned like, oh shit, she's probably right. And I just want to argue with her to just to say I'm right. But I've learned like, oh yeah, she's usually right because she's done her research. She's done her homework. And so I know I could go to her for anything. Hey, I need help with this, or I need help with this. I know that she'd be able to get it done. It may take her longer, whereas I'm like, let's get her done. Let's go. You know, she's done her homework and I know it's going to be done right. General characteristics of the C, they're very cautious, calculating, competent, cognitive, contemplative, careful. They can sometimes come across cold, perfectionist. They will dress the same. My sister's, it's a very high C. You go walk in her closet, it's all black, all gray, and all white.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same outfit every single day. She always looks great and cute, but I'm like, don't you get bored? Don't you want a little color in your life? No. No, I don't. I don't want to think about it. It's just funny. Like when you start, like, you're like, oh yeah, you're a C. Getting to know the C's. They like to be right, to know what's expected and clear instructions. She hates it when we go like, and I'm using her as an example, but she hates it when we go on vacation, for instance. I am the type that's like, screw it, let's go with the flow. Let's get off the resort and let's see what happens, right? She's like, nope, we got to have it planned out. It's laminated, it's detailed. I'm like, oh my God, shoot me, right. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And it's timed. It's okay, we're getting up at 6:30. We're gonna go hike, you're gonna go walk on the beach. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you know, I'm like, I'm the type, let's see what happens and let's have fun, right? Not her. She's gotten better. Like, she's like, that's why I have to hang out with you, just to bring out the crazy and the fun, you know, because otherwise she's so, you know,
How did she live with?
black and white. She had fun. I mean, she'll have fun like when she's got a couple of cocktails in her, but she's very intense. She needs to loosen up a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with the C's. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the C's or the D's or I's or anything. It's just how we need each other for different things. They like an established pattern. They finish what they start. Everything's very organized. Things stay the same. They like to work independently. They do not like to work with big groups. They're typically tend to be by themselves. Some of their weaknesses is they definitely need some clear boundaries. They're very bound by procedures and methods. So if you're working with somebody and they are, let's say you're just say a high I and they're a high C, they're probably going to know the purchase agreement better than you because they've sat up at night, they've studied it. They know, well, you said on line 23, and they will. And I'm like, oh shoot, did I say that? You know, so just make sure that you know before you're talking to them or before you're presenting a listing presentation or even a buyer, what the expectations are, that you know it just as good as they do, because they will fact check you and they get excited when they find out that you're wrong. So, and then you will lose credibility too. They will give in rather than argue. That doesn't mean that they're giving in. That just means they're going to give in, but they're going to use somebody else that's more like them. So keep in mind that when you're working with the C, to try to put the hat on as agents, to be a little bit more analytical, be more planned out. And if that's not your strength, there's two things you can do. Number one, make sure you either have an assistant or somebody help you to get more detailed, more orientated, so you look professional when you're giving that presentation. Or two, if this is absolutely completely out of your comfort zone and this is something, you know what, I want to make sure I do the very best job for you. I may not be the best personality type for you. However, Anton on my team would be a perfect match for you, and hopes that Anton would then give you something like a high I or something that would maybe not be in his comfort zone that he could do for you too. So sometimes that can be better for the client, is giving in and saying, hey, I may not be the best fit for you, but somebody on my team is. And if you're not, and you're really thinking about like, gosh, this is a really good commission, I really want to get this one, then learn really quick on how you can be the best you can be for that C personality. They don't typically verbalize their feelings well. They will avoid involvement when threatened. So don't ever make like a C personality come up and do something like this. They would rather go under the desk and hide and suck their thumb or go in the bathroom and, you know, than ever getting up in front of a crowd. That would make them very uncomfortable. Don't make them come up and embarrass them like that. Like, that would devastate them to do that. Why does Tina do that? So chill. Do you?
I gave many presentations and I'm.
This just doesn't like to be called
Yeah,
upon.
don't call me.
Don't call in and know that. Same with like any kind of public recognition. If you have a client that you're like, oh, okay, the husband is a C, I'm not gonna give him any kind of public recognition or embarrass him like that on any kind of social media. But his wife is a high I, I'm gonna blast her all over the place and she'd be like, yeah, you know, I like this. This is great. But him, I wouldn't do that because he'd be like, that would make him want to run faster than anything. So just, that's a big thing with them, is just don't call them out in front of anybody. It would be embarrassing for them. Again, very black and white. There is no gray in between. It's either a lot of scientists, so this is how it is. There is no black and white. There is no in between. It's either A or B, yes or no, one or two. They do not like to delegate tasks, and that's because they think they can do it better themselves. Okay. What sees fear? They fear criticism, and that's because typically they've spent a lot of time and a long time on making sure they've done their research. And so they fear criticism because you're usually right. Inferior standards, trading speed for quality is a big one for them. They do not like to trade speed for quality. They'd rather go slow and get it right than do a lot of things at one time and have it half-assed, I guess. Irrational acts. So like an I can be irrational. I can be like, hey, let's go past that rope in Jamaica. We're not supposed to, but we're gonna do it anyways, you know. They would look at me like I'm crazy. What are you doing? You know, we could get hurt out here, you know. So those are the big differences between them. Antagonize them. Don't be antagonizing them and trying to push them outside their comfort zone. That's what that means there. Making mistakes would be a big fear of theirs. Making mistakes, large group interactions, they like more one-on-one. So if it's again, a husband and wife or whoever that you're working with, work more one-on-one with just them. Don't get your whole team involved, just them. Failure to meet your expectations would be a huge fear of theirs, and then lack of structure. So if you have lack of structure as an agent, make sure that you turn that around and make sure that you say, okay, here's my listing presentation. Here's what your expectations can be from here, and have it just black and white, and make sure you follow up with them, because they will question you on that. What do the C's want? They want to be right. They want to know what is expected. So make sure what they can expect from you as their agent right away. They like an established pattern. They like clear instructions. They like to finish what they start. They typically don't have multiple things going at once. It's usually one thing or two things. And they like organizing things. So here's what you can do when you're communicating with a C. Make sure that you're prepared. That's the biggest thing with them. Provide the pros and the cons when you're selling their house. Do not surprise them with anything. That's a huge no-no. They don't like that. That would not be a good thing for them. Provide step-by-step approach to a goal. So ask them what their goals are and say, okay, here's my step-by-step approach to what we're going to do to achieve your goal. If you're going to agree with them, be specific. But if you're disagreeing with them, also be specific with that. So don't disagree with them as a person. Disagree with the fact and show them a fact of why. That it's not going to offend them by showing them that they need to see that. Much like the D's, minimize the small talk. They again don't really care about like your kids' sports or what you did or what religion you are or politics you're. They don't care. So C's and D's are a lot of like that way. No details and like to be alone. I's and S's love like detail as far as like the personal stuff, and they like to be around the people and they like to be in group interactions. So those are some of the commonalities there. Ask why, not what questions. Don't be vague when talking to them. Again, give specific details on there, and know that they will just double check everything that you do. Don't take that personal. That's just what they're doing, because that's how they're wired. What is the C's greatest fear? Criticism. And it's because they've done a lot of the work and research. And so don't criticize what they're doing. Just ask like, hey, let me ask you how you came to that, you know? So just changing some of your language is a big thing. Oops, I had that in there twice. Okay. So these are just a couple little, and if you win, you get a juice box. So I'm just kidding. But you can have a juice box or donuts or whatever. I know, he's funny. He's funny. Okay, so here's a couple of questions for you guys to think about. You're talking to an IT technician about a computer problem. What are they? What are they? Eagle? Are they an eagle,
Bee.
a parrot, a dove, or owl?
They're an owl.
Yep, owl. Yep, that is the analytical one. Yep. Your manager is unavailable as the group is hit with a major crisis and no one is taking charge. Who do you go to? It's kind of a trick question.
A D.
D. Yep. So your manager is unavailable as the group is hit with a major crisis and no one is taking charge. Who is the type of person that would come in and take charge?
Mhm.
D. It just because usually those are the persons you're gonna go to, you're like, okay, that person knows what they're doing. I'm gonna go to them. They're gonna take charge in that situation. So I'm gonna go to the D and they're gonna take charge and get the answers. They may go to the S and have them calm down the situation, but they're the ones you're gonna initially go to at first. Okay, you need to calm down an upset customer who is venting about poor customer service. Who would that be? S, yep. A coworker has just lost a close family member.
I.
IS, it could be a I or an S, because the I cares, you know, they're really into the people and stuff like that, and the S is gonna give you, like, they're gonna coddle you. You need to review a settlement statement with the seller who is a math teacher. Yep, C. See, you guys got this. You're attending a networking event and want to make more make new connections. Yep.
I.
Yep, you guys got it. You're paying attention online there. Good job, guys. A colleague questions your judgment on a recent decision. C. Yep. C. So now hopefully you guys, and I'll pass some of these out too. And I can send these to Kelly if you want some of these as a reminder to put on your desk.
Yeah, that'd
Oh,
be
you
great.
can't, you can't see me, but it's just a little postcard, but it's a good reminder for these things on how to communicate with your people, how to get future referrals, how to identify who your customers are and how to relate to them, you know, and what to do and what not to do. So hopefully you can kind of think of different, does anybody have any situations where you're like, oh my gosh, I had the worst transaction and now I realize that they were S or a C or an I or D.
Maybe you should put your face on the TV or on the laptop, so just
Oh, yeah.
share your screen.
Unshare my
Maybe
screen,
to help with that.
maybe. Okay, I'm gonna put my face on here. Yeah, there's the D is gonna come and help me here. S to unmute.
The D
Okay.
is gonna be a C right now.
Yeah, the D is my C right now. Are you a D? Figured.
I'm all through. I'm everything.
You're
You're a chameleon, Bob.
he is, he's a unicorn. We call them the unicorns.
This is
Yeah.
different here.
I know it's different than the one I had at home, so hang
Yeah, I
on.
should be able to
Is it that one?
unshare. Oh, because your slides are full.
Oh, my slides are full. Okay, hang
Or-
on.
They can see you probably though.
Can
Okay.
you see me, you guys?
No, we can just see your screen, your share.
Okay, we'll get that off. Bob's helping me.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, that's it.
And slideshow. Both of us don't have our cheaters on,
Mhm.
maybe. We're getting there.
Just stop your share at the bottom.
Yeah, we couldn't see the
Mine,
bottom.
yeah, the bottom was like covered, so it like,
Oh,
we had to do,
If we go,
we're getting there.
I gotta put my chairs.
Oh, okay, hang on.
well, while you guys are figuring that out, I'm just gonna, I don't know if everyone over there can hear me, but
Where's your mouse go?
if you guys have never taken the DISC assessment for yourself, there are some free online, opportunities for you to do that. They're not as in depth or as detailed as if you do a paid version of it. But if you're just interested to see where you fall on that spectrum, I mean, obviously Tara did a great job with some very key indicators. You probably already kind of tell where you fit,
Yeah, right
but
there.
because Tara said, none of us are just one of these letters. We're probably a mix. Doing that full assessment is really kind of an eye opener. It kind of tells you where you fall. Like I am a super high I with a little bit of S in me. So, it helps you understand your
Whoa.
style better,
Just
but
what that was.
not only for you guys as, you performing your own business, but if you're ever looking to add to your team or hire an assistant, it helps you during the interview process to understand who you're interviewing. And you certainly don't want a high eye as your administrative assistant, right? I mean, it's not the
No, you don't.
personality style, right? So understanding these styles will really help you deal with clients, but also deal with the hiring, as you build a team or you add on to your team.
See all the way up
Where? Right here?
there. So where it says stop share, the red button,
No,
it's showing on your screen there.
right here. Also too, like I'll send you guys out a link. I have a link that I can send you. I thought I did that and I apologize because I should have had you.
Here, I
Doing
just
that?
stopped your sharing. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there it is. So can you see me now?
I can see the room. I can see, I
Oh,
can't see
yeah,
you
we're
though,
s-
Tara.
Oh, oh, okay. So then,
There you
okay.
go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'll send you guys a link. Oh, did you already send it, Ange?
I did.
Oh, thanks.
thank
Okay, so
you,
Angie
Angela.
Ange sent a link for you and I apologize. I thought that I had sent that out and so that was my eye and me. I apologize. I normally am very good about that, getting that out. So
All the eyes are getting crazy back.
oh yeah, we got our eyes getting crazy back here. But anyways, Kelly, I'll email you too, so I can get, or if you can email me with your address, I'm gonna send out anybody who wants this little form that I created. It
Awesome.
just has, it's just a good reminder. I keep this on my desk too, and when I'm talking to somebody, I always even think this now. Like, okay, how would I relate to them? How do I talk to them? I can tell by the way they wrote an email or the way I got off the phone with them that they're an owl or they're an eagle or whatever. And so I keep that on there. Yeah, Bob.
Question,
Yeah.
so if somebody wanted to take this disc test because they haven't taken it for a while, or
Yep.
maybe never took it,
Mhm.
where's the best place for them to?
Angie just put a link in the chat here and I'm gonna send it out to you guys too.
Okay.
So I will make sure, should I send it to? Okay, I'll just send it to you and then you can send it out to anybody on the team. It's a 14 question test.
I'd say we go
It's,
with that.
if you guys want to do it right now, we can do it right now. That'd be awesome. I can, yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna be.
yeah. Could you send the link to them? Cause I know Anton, I did one with him. So if you can send them that link right now, we could do it right now. And it's fun. And then I can go over your results. It takes less than 5 minutes. And then I can go over your results because sometimes it can be kind of confusing, like the adaptive versus the natural style. So I can kind of go over some of the
So-
different scenarios and what you're perceived as too.
So
by others.
that's a really good point, Tara. Like I know you
Yeah.
guys on Bob's team, you guys can kind of take the test and analyze it once we get off Empire Masterminds. But talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that adaptive and your natural style.
Yeah, so there's your adaptive style and then your natural style. Your natural style is what people perceive you as and what you kind of what you kind of come across as. That is more your natural style than your perceived style. And then you have your adaptive style. Your adaptive style is what you have to adapt to others to be. So if you're naturally like an I and people perceive you as let's say a natural I, then you have to adapt to your clients to be a D because you've now identified what they are. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
you've now identified that your client is this, you have to adapt to their behavioral style as well. So that way you can, and you might have to adapt a couple times throughout the transaction. Like I said, several times, it's very important to adapt your style for the spouse or their partner and how the way they should be treated. Now, it could be easy for you if you're working with two eyes, easy. If it's yeah,
D and I are really hard.
D and I, yeah, they are. D's and I's can be very high and it's weird. I am 50-50. So it can be weird. But-
I don't have the links. I think I may have logged on to yours.
oh, okay. I'll send you guys that as soon as after this call, but yeah.
I
Yeah.
will say too, you guys, a lot of times you can be one way at work a little bit more than you are at home. And that's kind of that adaptive style as
Great
well.
point.
And you'll find that if you live more in your adaptive style, it's very exhausting, right? So like when you get home, you're like, oh man, I've had a full day at work and I've had to do things that are just kind of outside my box normal. You'll feel a little bit drained, right? Because it's
Yes.
just taken a lot more energy for you to be in that adaptive mode.
Kelly, that's a great point. And I forgot to mention that too. Like I can be a higher, I around people, I get my energy around people. I get home, I'm completely exhausted and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm more of like the softer S at home. You know, like I can listen better. Well, if you ask my husband, I don't, but I can. But I'm definitely more calm and more of an empath, I don't know. It's weird. I am totally, completely different at home than I am than I am at work.
Mhm.
That's a great point, Kelly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So any other questions for Tara from the online group and the in-person group?
No.
All I can say, Tara, is this is awesome
Yeah.
because people
Thank
don't
you.
understand it when we're in sales, which obviously the majority of us here are. And we maybe have some assistants too in there. It is very hard if you don't understand what those different personality styles really like and what they fear. And so
Yeah.
if you can just take a little bit more time to understand that, I guarantee you're going to have a few more successes along the way for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. It's hard to adapt to other people's personality because you want them to adapt to ours. Well, in our case as agent or you guys as agents, it's like, no, we really have to do theirs so we can, you know, do a
Yeah.
good job for them and, you know, hit our goals too.
For sure.
So thank you.
Bruce, what was that? What was the next level, right? Like you can take the disc and then you remember there was that next level you could do too, where you really could break down.
Yeah.
Oh, is that FJ?
I'm gonna have to think about that.
Yeah,
I
I don't, it
don't
was when we were
remember.
with Keller. I remember that's when we learned about it. But you know, if you guys are really into this or you do have a large team and you kind of or you're in hiring mode, there is like that next level of like, okay, I kind of know where you are, but now I'm gonna really break down your day-to-day like mentality, your thinking, the way you do things to really see if they will excel in the position that you're looking for. So there's lots of stuff out there that if you guys
There
are
is.
interested in taking this further, you can really, look at it. So
Have you ever, Tara, have you ever like figured out kind of what the secret combination or the secret sauce is? Obviously, people can be successful no matter if they're DICS, right?
Yep.
What's kind of the main letter for agents? I think I know the answer, but
The main, I would say was probably eyes.
mhm.
Yeah. Eyes are the ones that, and it's because you need, eyes are, and that doesn't mean they're the most successful.
Yeah.
That means they can find the job, but they need the S's. I mean, they need all of them to be successful. Like, they're usually the ones that know a lot of people and can get out in front, but sometimes they don't always implement. So they need like the S's and they need the C's and the D's to get out and make it happen because they can squirrel and they're like it said on there, they can sometimes be more worried about being popular than tangible results. So you need the people, you need the cheerleaders, you need the people that can inspire and get out and be like, yeah, so you can get them on board the eyes, but you really need to reel the eyes in to implement. So
It's the
that's
real
typically
estate
what I
agent
see is a
that's
lot of eyes.
it's when the real estate agent says, well, I just, I'm going to get into real estate because I love people. Okay, well, there's your eye, right? I love people,
Right. Yes.
but you got to be able to know how to do the business.
Yeah, exactly. You need you need literally every single one of these people in there, you know, to really make like the dream team or have a little bit of each of those characteristics in yourself to make a great agent. But I do see a lot of eyes in the entrepreneurial type, you know, a lot of agents are eyes. That doesn't mean they're the best ones. That means if they are some of the best ones, that means they have the best team working behind them, like the S's and the C's and the D's.
Yep.
So that's what I see. But yeah, Kelly, don't forget to send me your address and I'll get these mailed out to you today.
Okay. Yeah, I'll email you.
Okay. right.
Awesome, you guys. Well, I know in essence of time here, it's just about 10 o'clock. So thank you, Tara, very much for
Thank you.
sharing your
Thank you guys
expertise.
for listening and being engaged. I appreciate it.
Yes, and Angela did put in the chat, she was talking about the AVA, that's what it was. That's like taking Recruit Select and the AVA is taking things a little bit further. So again, if you guys have any interest in this, look at the free assessment. Angela put that link in the chat box, take it. It's very eye-opening. And certainly reach out if you guys have any questions, and then I'll post this recording in Empire as well. So thanks
Okay,
again,
awesome.
everybody. Have
Thank
a
you
great
so
rest of
much.
your day.
All right, you too.
Thanks,
All right.
Tara.
Bye, thank you.